Good morning, guys. Today I have a couple updates, but first and foremost, I am actually headed out with my friend Virginia. We have plans today to first stop at Starbucks because their new fall menu is finally out. And so it's been out like pretty much the whole week, but we just both had time today. So we're gonna go to Starbucks and go get a fall drink. And then we are going to, I know that I've gone there in a vlog before, but there is a plant shop or a nursery called the Conservatory. That's like probably 30-ish minutes from where I'm at. And we are both big plant people, so we really want to go to the conservatory. So that is our plan for today. I also did finish some books in the last couple days. I think I'm in the beginnings of getting out of that reading slump that I was talking about. Definitely reading Happy Place. If you guys did not see that vlog, I did vlog a whole reading vlog just helping me get out of reading slump, where I reread Happy Place by Emily Henry. And I really enjoyed making that vlog. And since then, I've now read 3 more books since that. So that is definitely the start of really getting out of this reading slump and like being in the mood for more books and just wanting to read more. So yeah, that's really good. And that is pretty much all I have to say now. So we are I'm gonna head to Virginia's where we're meeting up, and then we're gonna leave from there. Guys, so as you guys saw over the weekend, I ended up hanging out with my friend Virginia and we went to the conservatory. You guys saw the videos and stuff from that. I did vlog that, and then pretty much the rest of my weekend was nothing crazy but busy. So I didn't vlog anymore over the weekend, and I feel like I just want the rest of this video to be just like reading updates. And you know, we just ended August and it's the very beginning of September, so I was hoping that we could just discuss, you know, book stuff and how my reading went in August, and then things that I'm looking forward to in September. So starting off with August's reads. So, as you guys saw, I'm going to talk about this one first because I did actually already talk about this in one of my videos, but I do want to just bring it up again just in case anybody didn't see that video. This is A History of Wild Places by, I don't know if it's she or Shay. I think it's Shay Earnshaw, but I'm not positive. So this is A History of Wild Places. I read this with my book club. And this book was, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I rated it a 4.25. We do go all the way down to like 0.25, 0.75, just because we love to give like the most accurate ratings that we can, and then we basically add them all up and divide them by the amount of people, and we do get an average of all of our ratings. And so overall I believe we had 12 votes, and maybe it was a little bit less than 12, maybe it was 10 votes. I can't remember exactly how many people were there, but the overall rating of this book amongst our whole book club was a 4.0. So it was exactly a 4-star, which I think is really, really great. I don't know if you guys have ever been a part of a book club, but after you like take the average, sometimes the average is quite a bit lower than you expect it to be, just because like, you know, a couple low votes can really throw a book quite a bit lower than you think that it would. And so for this to be a 4.0, it blew us all. We were all very shocked that it was such a loved book. But most of us really liked it. There were very few things about this book that people didn't love. But yeah, overall it was a very good read, and it was a great pick for our book club. So the general synopsis, it's actually really hard to give a synopsis of this book without kind of spoiling it. But the general synopsis of this book is that our main character, Travis, has this power where he like touches items and he can see visions of the owner of that item. So, you know, he could touch anything owned by somebody and then he would see like a flash of either when they had that item or just something in general. But he is actually often hired to find missing people, which is very difficult because sometimes the missing people are not just missing, sometimes they're dead. Sometimes, you know, he sees horrendous visions of things that happen to people. And so this is a very difficult job. And as he's deciding that he doesn't want to do it anymore, he actually gets called to one last job. And it is to find a girl named Maggie. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave the synopsis, because any further than that can start to just give plot points away. So I definitely don't want to go any further than that. So yeah, that for me was a 4.25. I really, really enjoyed that book. I thought it was great. Then I actually also read, I've been talking about actually both of these books. Sorry. I've been talking about both of these next two books quite a bit on the channel about me wanting to read them. So obviously I ended up getting to them. So the first one is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. This book, I got this in a book of the month box very recently. And ever since it's gotten here, I've nonstop talked about how I'm so excited to get to this book, and it lived up to the hype. It definitely, like, my excitement did not at all ruin how good I thought that this book was. This story was, it's so hard for me to even describe. Like, it was definitely, I would definitely call it a rom-com. She wrote it very, very well. I felt like it was so wholesome, and it was very heartwarming, and it was very, very cute and special. It was a closed door. So for anybody who, you know, prefers closed door over open door romances, this one is one that you should definitely check out. You know, it follows the female main character she's basically dreamed that she could be a writer of like movies and scripts. She was very, very good at it when she did it. And then her dad got sick and she had to basically put her career on hold to take care of her dad. And to allow her younger sister to continue on to do her career. And so all of a sudden she gets a call one day that she basically has the job of her dreams is offered to her, and it is to help rewrite her favorite movie writer's movie script that is a rom-com. And he's never written a rom-com before, so she's already shocked, and she's like, "You're telling me that he's writing a rom-com?" And, you know, her manager is like, "Yeah, terribly." And so he needs her help. And so basically she asks her sister to come back and to help take care of her dad for 6 weeks while she goes and rewrites this rom-com script. with a very, very, very well-known award-winning writer. And so, you know, this whole time I've been trying to think of what that's called, and it's called a screenwriter. Don't know why I could not think of that word. So he's like a very, very famous, well-known screenwriter. And so she has to go for 6 weeks to LA and help him rewrite his movie script. And when she gets there, he doesn't even know that she was basically hired to do this. So he's not very happy about it. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole beginning and synopsis of this book. And I loved this book. I loved it. Like, I went on Spotify and I looked up a playlist of just like somebody's random playlist of this, like for this book, and it fit the reading experience so well. I was just listening to music and reading with these characters, laughing. I mean, it was so funny at some points that I was like actually kind of giggling and like laughing out loud. And then there were points that it actually brought tears to my eyes and I was getting very emotional over this book. So like, she just did an excellent job at making you come along with her on this ride and really feel and experience this story as she wanted you to. And it was really, really wonderful. And I believe I rated this a 4.5. So yes, I definitely recommend and loved The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. Okay, so the next book on the list for August, and actually my last read of August, was Next of Kin by Hannah Bonham Young. This book I have heard about over and over, and I've had it for a little while now, and I just have not gotten to it yet. This is actually not the one by her that I've been recommended the most. I've actually been recommended Out on a Limb the most by her, and I've seen the most about it. But this one I just happened to already have, and so I was like, okay, how about I will pick up Next of Kin, and then if I really love it, I'll make sure to get, you know, Out on a Limb, and if it's just all right, then maybe I'll look for other things. But I also really loved this book as well. I don't know like how this happened that I get like 3 like 4-star and above reads in a row. Sorry guys. But it is kind of been really surprising since I was in such a bad reading slump all of basically most of July and the whole beginning of August. I was really struggling in a bad reading slump, and I did not know I don't know what caused it and why. Like, I just was really struggling to get into stories. Like, I would pick up a book and read like 40% of the book, which is a lot of a book, and I like could not get into any of them. But so I just had to keep picking up books and starting them and figuring out what I was in the mood for and what I wasn't in the mood for until I got something that really caught my attention, and these books clearly did. So Next of Kin it follows these 2 main characters that are on the cover. We have our female main character that she was basically put into the foster system when she was young because her mom was not able to care for her properly, and then she was adopted by 2 very wealthy people that did not have any children. So she was basically their only child, and they raised her until she was old enough to be on her own, and then they pretty much kind of left and did their own thing. And then the male main character, he also was, I believe he was also put in the foster care system when he was young, and he basically stayed in the foster care system until he was old enough to be out of it and be doing his own thing. But now his younger brother is also in the foster care system, and he's in like a group home, and he's 15 years old, and he's deaf. And so the older brother is really trying to get him out of the foster care system, but unfortunately his apartment that he's living in is not big enough to like pass all of the checks for him to be able to take care of his brother. Then back to this main character, she is obviously doing her own thing, living on her own, when she gets a call from her social worker saying that her mother is back in town, like her birth mother, and that she's at the hospital and she's actually had another baby that nobody knew she was pregnant with. And the baby is going to be taken away from her and put into the foster care system unless this main character can go and basically take the baby into her care. But as she tries to get approved for it, she doesn't have the like monthly finances to be able to care for this new baby. And so these two have to be paired together for them to be able to take their siblings out of the foster care system. That is the best synopsis I can give. I am not great at synopsises. I don't know, synopsises. I'm really not great at them, but I try because I know you guys really like to get like a general synopsis of these books before I talk about them. So I hope that was good enough for you guys. But this book was very, very wholesome as well. That's a great word to describe both of these books. Because yes, they are romances, but they're so much more than just romances. I mean, these have some very, very, very deep topics that they're discussing, especially this one. This book, I would definitely check the content warning that she does have one in the beginning of the book, because some people, the things that are talked about in this book can be very triggering and very upsetting to people who have gone through situations like this. So if that is upsetting to you, I would definitely check the content warning before you jump into this book. But for those of you who are interested in reading this book, it is worth the read. I definitely really loved this book, and it was at times very emotional, and it was like very deep. You could tell that I actually wonder like how much of this story comes from experiences that the author has had, because I feel like to be able to write so in-depthly about these topics and this experience has to come from somewhere or someone that this author knows, because it felt very, very real. It felt like she knew what she was talking about. It all just, I mean, it had me pretty much right from the very start of the book. Like, I was so intrigued. I could not put this book down. I actually started it at night, as I usually do pick up a book at night before bed, and I could not put this down. I was up for hours reading this book, and I read like half of it in one night, and it was so late that I literally was like, okay, it is now the morning and I need to put this down and get a semblance of sleep, because yeah, it was just so good. I did really, really love this book. I will also let you guys know that this was an open door romance. So just putting that out there for the people who care and the people who want to know, this was an open door romance. When I looked it up online, I think they had rated it like a 3-star or 3 spice level, I guess. But yeah, I kind of agree with that. It was definitely, there were some explicit scenes in there that I would say if you're not into reading books like that, then I definitely would consider not picking it up, or just making sure that you look into it beforehand and maybe skip those scenes if that's too much for you. But it definitely was, I felt that it was very worth the story and the plot line. It was very good. Okay, so then the next book on the list is kind of in between from my August reads into my TBR for September because I've already started it. So this is my current read right now, and some of you guys will be very excited about this because, as many of you know, I am a really big Kristen Hanna fan, but shockingly, I've never read The Nightingale. And so starting September off strong, I am reading The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This book has been on my TBR for so long. I actually have had this for years, and I started this book I want to say 2.5 to 3 years ago. I picked this up and I started reading it. It was before I had ever read one of her books before. And I was trying really hard at the time. I did not love DNFing books. I don't know why. I was just in a reading mode where I was like, I don't care if you hate this book, you're going to get all the way through it so you can mark it read, I guess. I don't know. But I have since changed my feelings on that. But this was one of the only books that at the time I had soft DNF'd. I was like, okay, I need to put this down for now because this is such a loved book. There are so many people I know personally and people online that have talked about this book, and this is people's favorite book of all time. This is such a loved story and book that I really told myself I have to put this down, because if I wasn't enjoying it, that most likely meant that it just wasn't the right time. And I didn't want to ruin the ending for myself by reading it in a time that I wasn't ready for it, if that makes sense. I absolutely hate when I do that, when I just power through a book even though I'm not really enjoying it, and then I'm like, well, I would have enjoyed that if I read it in the right timing. So I am so grateful that years ago I put this book down and I told myself not to finish it, because I'm about 50% through. I'm on chapter 16 right now. And so that's it's a little bit less than 50%, but the stories are really picking up right now. And this is kind of the chapters that you can tell that things are really getting started. So this is the exciting part of the book. From here till the end is definitely going to be very, very exciting, and I really won't want to put this down. So I'm updating you guys now where I'm at, just about halfway through, just under halfway through. But the plot of this book is basically it takes place during World War II. And it's got multiple point of views. So the book opens up with an older lady it's in 1995, I want to say. And it's from her point of view, and her son is getting ready to put her into a senior citizen home or a senior care facility. And as she's going through old boxes, she finds old letters from the 1945-ish time, early 40s, where it's the very beginning of World War II. And she is it's bringing up old memories. And then from that chapter, it jumps into that time frame with all different characters. So you actually don't know the connection between the old lady in the beginning of the book to the characters that it talks about in the beginning of the story. It takes right about halfway through the chapter or halfway through the book before you start to even be able to make very small connections, and you don't even know what those connections mean yet. You're just starting to correlate things, but it still doesn't really make sense. So I'm so excited to keep reading because clearly there is going to be a connection here. And I have a feeling that this is just going to be one of those books that, first of all, possibly makes me sob. I have heard that this book has a sad ending, as most Kristen Hanna's do have somewhat of a sad ending. But yes, I am so unbelievably excited to continue to get to this book and possibly finish this book very soon. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I'm going to say about this, because I don't know how much of it is a spoiler until I get to the end. So I don't want to bring up even any names or anything just yet. But yeah, I will give you guys an update and a rating on this book when I finish it. Okay, so for the rest of the video, I want to dive into some books and some anticipated reads for September. I will probably not be able to get to them all in September, but I will definitely get to some of them. We're gonna start them off first with our book club pick for this month, because I know that I will get to that book, and I'm just gonna end up popping a picture up over here to the side of that book, but that is The Measure. I can only remember the first name is Nikki. I cannot remember her last name, so that's why I'm gonna pop up a picture. This book seems very intriguing. It has lots of interesting things. We did read the synopsis, and it seems like it seems kind of dystopian to me. I'm not sure just yet. Sometimes once you start reading the book, you get a better idea of what genre this book is, but basically it sounds like it's like an ordinary society, and then one day, you know, people wake up and there's a little box at their door, and that box basically tells them how long they are going to live. And that's pretty much all that I know about this book. And that's kind of all that I want to know until I jump into it, because sometimes I've learned that books like this, if I know too much going into it, then I don't tend to enjoy it as much. So I'm gonna kind of just jump into this one completely with that being all that I know about it. Then the next one is another one that I don't own yet, so I'm also gonna pop a picture up over here, but that is Out on a Limb, also by Hannah Bonham Young. This is obviously by the same author as Next of Kin that I just talked about. I am very, very, very excited to read this book. After reading Next of Kin, I was almost immediately decided that I needed to get Out on a Limb, and I want to get to that as soon as possible. So I'm kind of putting it next in the video because I have a feeling that it might be one of my next reads. This book, I also know very little about it other than some of the tropes. So I believe that this is a one night stand leads to unexpected pregnancy trope. And that's pretty much all I know about this one, but I have heard excellent reviews and ratings about this book, and since I really loved Next of Kin, I felt like I needed to pick this one up as soon as possible. Sorry guys, I've had lots of interruptions today, but so we're just gonna start off the next of my physical TBR for September. Starting them off with one that I've waited. I've actually had this for a while, and I've specifically waited to read this book until football season was here, because I knew that this would just be one that I really enjoyed during football season, and that is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I believe this is her most recent published book, and I can definitely check when this one was actually published, but yes, 2024. So this is her most recent published book. She has had a bunch of books basically like republished with new covers. So she's had lots of books come back out with a new cover, but they're not like new stories. It's the same books that she's had published, just with a different cover. But this is actually her newest book. And yeah, I've been very excited to get to this one because I do really love Sarah Adams' writing. But like I said, I felt like this book would be perfect during the football season. So I waited until football season has started, and guys, it is here. Football season started over the weekend, and we watched our first football game on Saturday. And so we are very, very excited for football season. So this one is high up on the TBR. And then the next book is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This one I have actually started, but I'm not very far into it. Looks like I'm on chapter 6. So this one is one that I've just seen a lot, and I think I had a very different idea in my head of what I thought this book was about until very recently, when I looked it up for stuff at the bookstore. And when I finally saw what it was about, I was like, oh wow, that is not at all what I thought that this book was. And so I just decided that I really wanted to pick it up and get into it. And so I watch a lot of YouTubers that actually really love this series. So I just felt like I at least had to give the first book a try. So this one, I expect to probably read in September, if not by the end of the year for sure. I did already start it, but The Nightingale is winning over all of my current reads so far. So yes, so Binding 13. Then we have one that I have also already started. This was during my, I actually did already talk about this in a video, but during my reading slump, I started this book. I got like, I want to say like 75% through this book. And I ended up just setting it to the side because I didn't want to ruin what could possibly be a very good ending just because I wasn't in the mood for it. So this was a soft DNF that I really want to try to pick up and read sometime in the fall season, and that is One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. I was really enjoying this when I started it. Like I said, it was just wrong place, wrong time. So I started it, I was really enjoying the beginning, and I very quickly lost interest. And I really did not want to ruin the ending. We were just kind of getting to like the climax of the story when I started to lose interest. And I knew that that was a me problem and not a problem on this book. So I definitely decided that what was best was for me to soft DNF this book, and I can always pick right back up where I left off. I was hoping that I could get back into this by sometime this fall season. So this is very high up on the list of books that I really want to finish this year. Then the next two are books that I have not started. So I've not read these at all. I actually know very little about them, but they are recent books that I got from Book of the Month. And the first one is Like Mother, Like Daughter. This one I was very intrigued by when I saw it on Book of the Month. And so I'm very excited to get to this one this year, hopefully in the fall season. I love thrillers and mysteries in the fall season. So really, I love them all year, but they just hit different in the fall. They feel so like atmospheric, and it just feels like it's the right time to be reading a thriller when it's like spooky season, when it's cold and rainy and there's falling leaves and it's moody, and I just love this time of year so much. So I am very excited to get to this one this fall. And then the last book on my physical September TBR is The Ministry of Time. This one I also, obviously, as you can see, got from Book of the Month, and I have been very intrigued to read this book. I watched a reading vlog from Haley Pham, and she said that she really loved the writing by this author. And so I just, as soon as Haley said that she loved the author's writing, I was like, okay, I have to add that to my TBR because I really do trust Haley's recommendations. She often has really great books that she's recommended that I've read. I've typically ended up loving. So very excited for The Ministry of Time. And I feel like this just feels like this fits in the fall. And I don't know that that's the case because I don't really know anything about the book. But I don't know. I guess if I end up picking it up, I will let you guys know if this is a good book to read in the fall. I don't know why, but something about this just gives like that this should be read in like spooky season. It kind of reminds me, this gives me like the Twilight Zone vibes. So I don't know if it's anything like the Twilight Zone, but that's what this reminds me of. I don't know why. Tell me if you guys feel the same way. but I think that's why deep down inside I feel like this needs to be read in the fall season. So I definitely added this to my September TBR, but it is pretty low, unfortunately, on the TBR. So I'm not sure if I'll end up getting to this book this September, but we will see. So yeah, so that is all of my books for September. So I have all of these, plus The Nightingale is a current read. So here are the September books, September TBR. Hopefully I will be able to get to most of these books this month. I feel like I've really been getting out of that reading slump that I was in. So I'm really, really hoping that I can get to the majority of these books this month, but we'll see. And obviously I will keep you guys updated along the way. So thank you guys so much for watching this video and coming along with me and just chatting about books. So if you guys have any other questions or anything, please feel free to comment, and thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.